A year ago, things that Jacob had to do just to survive as a leader, today, that exact same thing that you used to do could be preventing your organization from getting to the next level.
I'm sipping on success, feet up in the air. Work harder when you can play it smart. That's the lazy leverage way to steal their heart.
Welcome back to Lazy Leverage. I'm joined by Jacob Klein from Incline Homes. Purpose of the call today, right before we hit record, you'd mentioned that you'd listened to some of my pods before, and I definitely want you to give like a minute or two, just kind of like who you are, the business you own. You've done a bunch of hiring through Sagan, but I really want to use this conversation more to just kind of like maybe talk about some stuff you've learned, talk about what challenges you're thinking about. I know you've been walking down the automation path and AI path a little bit, and how that's interacting with your global workforce, and more just kind of like a fun working session of two business owners than like, tell me about, it's just like, that's like less fun. So why don't you just rip a quick, I know you're in Florida, but just rip a quick intro about kind of who you are. I think you got two companies and just kind of like what you do and all that kind of fun stuff.
Yeah. So we're based in St. Augustine, Florida. I've got two businesses, like John said. One is One Cut Properties, and that's the business that I've had for 7-8 years now. Direct to homeowner real estate acquisition.
Yep.
So, buying houses to flip. We've flipped probably 300 double wide mobile homes, over the last 6-7 years. And just about a year ago, started Incline Homes, which is, our new construction arm, and, have really gone full force into, building new construction. And, to sum it up, I mean, our goal with that is, to give an affordable home that, somebody can be proud of owning, right? There's a bunch of track builders, right? That, so we're trying to put out like a luxury product in that like bottom 10% of new construction price.
So I mean, there's a lot we could go into there. What's cool I like is that I think when people think real estate, much like many of our Sagan members, they don't immediately think about AI, automation, and global talent. But when you're talking about the value proposition that you just said, right, mm-hmm. which is creating an excellent housing product at a accessible price, you immediately have to go there because you're like, you have to, you're forced to, right? Mm-hmm. But it's in service of your customer. And so, I think I've got a draft newsletter, and it reminds me a little bit of what you're talking about, which is if you asked a custom cabinet maker what he thinks about IKEA, he would say, it's an abomination and I hate it. And it's taking jobs from us custom cabinet makers. And you're like, what does it cost for you to make a bed? And he's like, oh, $900. And you're like, awesome. I can buy one for $50 at IKEA that is not as good as yours. It's no doubt as good as yours, but it's a fraction of the price. And now more people have beds in their homes because of IKEA than a custom cab, right? And so it seems like that's in the same family of kind of the approach you're taking, right?
Yeah, it's funny that you say IKEA cabinets because my kitchen at my house is IKEA cabinets, and
you're like,
hilarious.
Look, it's not as good as a $50,000 kitchen, but
it is. It pretty much is. It pretty much is. That's the crazy part.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's a lot of parallels there, taking the, I guess, traditional approach to construction. I mean, there's just a lot of overhead, right? Management on these jobs, oversight, the accounting burden. I mean, it's an accounting intensive business, being a home builder. Compared to what I've done in the past, I guess. But,
yeah,
I've used global talent for 5 years.
Yep.
And I, have had, probably a dozen different people, and the turnover rate is so much better than, Americans, right?
It's not perfect. It's not perfect, but it's, what I tell people is, I ran basically a construction business, and I said, I was so burned out by kind of the low level of talent, what I had to pay to get it, and then its turnover and its quality. I was falling out of love with building a business.
Oh, yeah.
I was falling out of love. I was like, man, maybe I need to just like YouTube or something, because if I find any more mini liquor bottles in the front desk of somebody I'm paying $30 an hour, I can't, I'm like, I just don't want to live like this. And then by blending local with global, I'm able to pay my local people more so I can get better people.
Exactly.
And then the global people are like, hey, John, I'm not that busy today. Do you mind if I go call some old leads and try to get us some more reviews? And I'm like,
are you kidding me?
is this a joke?
Yeah. Right. Like in their free time, they're actually thinking about their job.
Yeah, which is crazy, especially on the low end of kind of, in Southern California or Florida, some of these, I was paying $35 an hour to have somebody just like answer my phone poorly.
Oh, yeah.
Poorly, by the way.
Yeah.
Poorly,
Totally agree.
Yeah. So happy. So talk to me a little bit about your journey, because I think it's a good intro. Talk about your journey to kind of like global talent, given your industries. I think probably you're, buying and flipping houses, Cole Rudd Johnson, I'm sure.
Yes.
Cole, I know, and we have a couple guys who do some land flipping, who are Sagan members.
Yeah,
so just talk a little bit about your journey, maybe.
Yeah. Just when I started in the business, it was just, me, one man show. I'd be cold calling like off my cell phone, just looking up courthouse records, basically, calling people that had different motivation factors, and did really well. Kind of right off the bat, learned how to analyze deals and stuff. And, the typical founder, I guess, that, has found success as a one-man show, right? Like the barrier to entry to that is pretty low, to be successful as a one-man show, and from there, like taking steps into turning it into a business. That was the goal, right? Instead of a hustle. And the first steps were whatever, outsourcing cold calling, or instead of hand writing these mailers that I would send out, using a mail house, and then I got an assistant that was in the Philippines. She was amazing. She's been with me for 5 years and has referred,
It's incredible. Just that is great. 5 years, right?
Like I don't have anybody that's been with me for 5 years. It's only her.
Yeah. It's incredible.
Like, yeah, right. And I mean, I could go on and on about it, but, so I've had her for 5 years, and she's, referred multiple other, great people. And she started just doing like data entry work, like pulling stuff off the property appraiser site, and then, worked closely with me. So she like learned how I think, right? And has been able to kind of by osmosis put some of that in play herself. And, she's grown quite a bit.
I wrote a newsletter called You Need an Apprentice, Not an Assistant.
Yeah.
Where it's like, hey, just work right next to Jacob. And you're just and next thing you know, she's like, hey, do you want to be like our operations manager? Hey, do you want to, because you're just seeing how I think and how I work. Assistants are like, if they're the right kind.
Exactly.
If they're like young and smart and hungry and coachable, like young at brain, not age, like young intellectually, then I think we probably have 4 or 5 former assistants of either Bincy or I who've become managers within our companies, because they're like, I know how Bincy thinks about this, or John thinks about this, or Jacob thinks about this, right? It sounds like you've been on that same journey.
Yeah. And, I did like kind of dove into whatever you would say, dive or dove into.
Jumped.
Just whatever.
Yeah.
Into that further, as I've heard, you've talked about this stuff. Like I didn't even really think about it as being like a strategy. It was just kind of something that happened. Right. And, now I'm trying to kind of like spread myself out across the organization. So, as I'm working on this part of the business, let's say working on construction, I'm going to be with our purchasing guy and spending a lot of time with him, so that, and saying like, hey, dude, I'm expecting you to pick up good habits from me.
Yeah.
You
Have you seen my, or it's not mine. I talk about it a lot, and it's from a guy, I forgot what his name is, but the leadership ladder.
Yes. Oh yeah. That is sick.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's like the Bible in our company, right?
Dude,
Like
that is great. I love that.
and you show it to them too. We actually show people
Right.
on their first day of work with us. We're like, right now you're at this bottom rung. I tell you what to do and you do it.
That's awesome.
And your journey over the next as fast as possible is to get to the top where you tell me what you've been doing. But what's going to slow you down is a lack of context and judgment. So my job is to help you fill out your what the hell's going on at Incline Homes knowledge base so that when you hit a situation that maybe you're unfamiliar with or it's a little bit different, you're not a robot. You're using judgment and experience to make good suggestions or good. So that's how I want you to frame the way we're going to work together. Because if we're still doing tasks in a few months, I don't know if this is a good fit. And you tell them that and they're like, oh, okay. So it's a really good structure. I'm glad to hear that you've seen that. I love that model.
Yeah, that's great. And I think that's something that I've struggled with, like as I've kind of turned things into like a real business, I guess you could say, is the leadership component and like training people properly, setting expectations properly, like proper job descriptions. I actually just brought in a, consultant basically to work with us on that stuff specifically.
Yeah.
And it's like, I know it in my head, but I'm going 25 different directions. And it's just, I'm not that guy to be the one that's organizing all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I think that's something that I connected with you is like, it seems like you are just moving all over the place all the time. I feel the same way where like, I could get in my own lane and be in like some deep focused work, but like, that's not what I am.
Yeah.
Like I need to be directing the ship, like where it's going next.
And I think what you're speaking to is the evolving role of a business leader based on a company's maturity.
Right.
And in some functions of your company, like cold calling, your only job is people development and resourcing. Right. That's it. But in a new sector, like, oh man, we keep messing up the permitting process and pulling permits. You might go hands-on and you might be the freaking guy doing the actual work. But in your company at various stages and various functions, you're at different levels of operational maturity and having the awareness as a leader to be like, okay, in this part of the company, I'm a coach. I don't ever get involved. I don't even want to see the leads because you got that. We've been working on that together for years. But this part of the company, I'm the one calling the city because I don't really know how it's going to be done and how we're going to do it and its expense and its timeline. So I always try to think about like which of my hats I need to be wearing in which function at any given time, Dude,
that is so fire. Like that is so on point, like with where I'm at right now.
You're doing it. I'm just labeling what you're doing. To be clear, like I'm just putting words to what you're already doing.
Well, I mean, you picked up on where I'm at real quick, because obviously I'm sure you've been there. But yeah, that's exactly where I'm at, and I'm like evolving as a leader too. Like I realize that there's some things that I need to change, right? Yeah. Like historically, if there's an issue, like no one else is a problem solver. It's me, and now we have freaking high quality people that like if I go in there and solve the problem, they're not going to say, stop, let me solve it. Right. They're just going to get accustomed to me doing our job for them.
Yes.
And what am I paying $100,000 a year for this guy for to just do tasks?
That's exactly right. And I think, Jacob, that the thing, I have one coaching. I actually love coaching. Like if I had to start, I just love like talking to people and working with them about staying organized and global talent and AI and automation. Like I love it. I have one coaching client left that's been with me for a few years now. And one of the things that I find myself talking about a lot with them that I think for you'll be like, oh yeah, which is the mind F, which is A year ago, things that Jacob had to do just to survive as a leader, today, literally, that exact same thing that you used to do could be preventing your organization from getting to the next level. So a year ago, you going into Airtable to make sure that the leads were followed up with, you had to do that just to make payroll or just to close a deal. And now today, given where your organization is, if you do that, you're going to completely destroy your organization's autonomy and the leadership and the chain of command. And so you're like, but it was the same thing. Jacob going in and clicking the leads to make all, you're like, and the mental flexibility as a leader to be able to understand that is hard as shit. So don't feel bad.
Yeah.
Like the exact same behavior a year ago that was critical. Now, Jacob, if you do that, you're ruining your organization. You're like, what the fuck?
Yes.
What the fuck? Right? So
Total, dude.
So
It's so crazy because like my fiance, we're actually getting married in a month, but she's been on board. She worked in insurance before and then came on and, became basically our listing agent. In-house is what she started as. And now she plays a huge role in the whole organization, so anyway, she's had to acclimate from being an employee. Like she doesn't even probably have the founder, business owner in her blood, and as I'm figuring it out, like she's learning too.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, it's
it's a
there's
journey.
nothing like being a business owner where your company's growing quickly. I mean, there's nothing that's going to make you grow up faster.
I had a mentor early in my career, and you sometimes get pieces of advice that just stick with you forever. And this is in a very specific context, but in this case, I think about it a lot and I teach our leaders it, which is be yourself. And if that doesn't work, be somebody else. Meaning, okay, Jacob naturally wants to do this and this and this. Is that what this organization needs right now? You're like, no. This right now, Incline needs the optimist. Or right now, Incline needs the pessimist. Or right now, Incline needs the Energizer Bunny. Or right now, Incline needs the head sales growth guy. Or Incline needs the develop. So I always ask myself, like, okay, I'm going to naturally be myself. What do I like doing? I like doing this. I like doing this. But if I see us struggling or hitting a constraint, I'm like, who do I need to be? Oh, I need to be the people development guy. Oh, I need to be the recruiter guy. Oh, I need to be the accounting guy. And I try not to give myself the excuse of saying like, I'm not good at that. Or I'm like, what does the business need? And right now, Jacob, when you look at what your business needs, you're like, look, I don't naturally love coaching people, but if I can't get these middle managers cooking, we're about to cap out. Yeah. And so I got to go to freaking work and learn how to develop people. And I'm going to read some books and I'm going to go to thing. Like I got to go to work because I don't like it, but that's what we need. And so I've always like, it's a very like empowering story, I think, which is like, don't just do what you like doing or what you're good at, do what the organization needs to get to the next level, whatever the next level is.
Oh yeah. And there's influencers for days that are just sharing like, whatever quotes and stuff from like whatever Bezos that's like, find your one thing that you're good at and do that. It's like, when you're $1 million in revenue,
correct?
Like, please don't even think about
like,
it.
Bro, I checked the mail.
You need to be the actual opposite of that. You need to be able to do every single thing in the world yourself.
Of course. Yeah. That's really cool, man. And so, I know we've done a bunch of hires for you. Have you sent your team or have you come to any of the Sagan University stuff? Because hearing you talk makes me also think that like, have you been like, we did 12 weeks on leadership on like becoming a middle manager and about like, effective delegation. Have you or your team taken advantage of any of that stuff?
I haven't, but I required our team to pick one of the tracks and do it.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Yeah. Send your team. That's definitely send your team. Like EA to chief of staff would be a really good one. We have a bunch going.
We need to be more active in that stuff.
We just switched to Circle, so it'll be a lot easier for you to kind of track what classes there are and stuff like that, or your team. Like definitely the idea is that your team is the one that's doing the majority of it because you're like, yo, I don't have time, right? Like, whereas you can send that new leader and now they're getting, I teach a lot of them. We have Brian Wilson, who was a major in the Marine Corps, teaching a bunch of them. We have a lot of people who are good, experienced leaders being like, so your boss throws a bunch of different tasks at you. What do you do? And you're like, yo, let's have a discussion about it. And it's kind of like Socratic, like we're really trying to teach them. And it's all included with membership. So it's not like it costs any extra. So when I look at your journey, like where you're going, training and development of your people is the mandate these days.
Yeah,
for sure. We can help with a lot of that. And then you're also going to do a lot with it too,
Yeah. It's definitely not the part of things that I like to do. That's not something that I really enjoy doing, but I know that I do have a lot to give, a lot to share with people. So like you were saying, I just need to get comfortable with it and just do it.
The only other thing I would say is at a certain point, and again, you're probably a little bit small, but maybe not. At a certain point, we just signed this deal with Christian Ruff, who is a former special operations guy who now recruits prior military on the ground leaders. Mm-hmm. And you get 50% off if you're a Sagan member, his fees, which is really good. At some point, when you hit a certain revenue level, you might want to consider bringing in a general manager or a COO or a VP of ops who was in the Marine Corps for 5 or 6 years and works. And Christian can get you a guy who like knows real estate, who is a freaking whatever again, it depends on your revenue level and how much money you're making and stuff like that. But at a certain point, like when you get to a level of revenue, you can start to hire for some of these weaknesses where you're like, yo, man, like right now I don't have the money, but as soon as I have a little bit more cash, I'm going to bring in a guy who loves developing people because I don't really get excited about it, right? Like, but you have to have the revenue is the key. Right?
I'm curious. I mean, I would think that anybody listening would be curious too. Like, what do you think that level is?
The way I think about it, I can give you like the way I think about it.
Sure.
Which is the way I think about it is what does Jacob need to make? You're engaged, right? So do you have kids or no kids?
No kids. So, well, 2 Frenchies. So
2 Frenchies. Okay. There you go.
Basically,
you are in Florida after all. Okay.
Wait, what's the connection there? Why is
like
that?
Florida's like a little, like a little weird, like, like it's a little off. No, do you know Bodie, the SEO guy, Bodie? I like to give him a hard time because he's from Florida. So this is basically me just picking on Bodie. I just like giving Bodie a hard time. Okay. So what I was going to say was the way I think about it is I think about what is my daily spend that I need to not be stressed out about money. So forever for me, it was like before I had kids or anything, it was 10 grand a month.
Yeah.
If I can make 10 grand a month, I meet all of my needs. I pay all of my bills. I'm saving freaking 30%. Okay. Then I look at the free cash flow that the business is generating and I'm like, okay, well, what's it generating right now that I in distributable cash can take out consistently every month? It's like 7 grand. I'm like, well, obviously I can't then bring in more help, right? But let's say right now your number, Jacob, was 10 grand a month. It's easy. You don't have to give me real numbers. Let's say it's 10 grand a month. And right now you're generating 25,000 in free cash flow a month. Right. Like, yo, man, why don't we bring in a guy who makes 10 grand a month? You're still hitting your number, but what that's going to free you up to do, Jacob, is work on the stuff you're good at and accelerating and getting more deals under contract while that guy basically mines the company and can run your 2 companies. And like, so that's what I'd be thinking about is I always think about like, what do I need to kind of like live and like not get divorced? And it's like, okay, it was 10 grand. It's like, awesome. Yeah. I have the cash or I don't have the cash. It's like discretionary OpEx is how I think about it.
Sure.
Is that a good, does that make sense? Did that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. I think the thing that can be difficult is when you're growing, you're like operationally spending ahead of time. Right. Yeah. So like, of course, if you're in the green and spending for growth, you're in really good shape, right? Because if you, like, because that's basically where we're at, is we're spending for growth, which would probably be, an additional 20%
Yeah.
OpEx,
Yeah.
for taking everything to the next level.
Yeah.
And still, pretty decently in the green.
Well, it's
So,
especially difficult, Jacob, based on depending on what your working capital dynamics are, which is in construction,
houses is just nuts.
it's the worst.
Like,
So
yeah, the
for
capacity
us,
working is horrible.
we would have $900,000 in sold but uninstalled work, and I'd have $16K in the bank account, and I'd have a $80,000 payroll run in 3 days. And so for you, the way you need to kind of spend to get to that next level is very different than a software company that has no marginal cost and has a different cash conversion cycle or negative net working capital, right? And so you have to be way more conservative, right? Like in terms of how that's kind of structured, because you got to have some nice runway, right? The other thing I'd say, Jacob, is Peter and I talk about this, my co-host in this, is we also
well, Peter,
he's smart as shit, man.
Yeah, he really is.
Yeah, he's really smart. We get along. Peter was just here. He spent the day with me yesterday or 2 days ago. So he's speaking at a conference in San Diego. But the other thing I would say, Jacob, is depending on the industry and the business, there are going to be phases of your growth where Jacob makes less money because you have to build infrastructure before you have the revenue to support it.
Sure.
So you're going to be like, look, when we add that fourth crew, I have to have a on-site lead, but he's not going to be fully busy until we have 7 crews, but I have to have him at 4 or else I'm going to get freaking divorced. And so for a period of time, until you can get enough revenue to justify crews 5, 6, 7, you're going to basically be creating less free cash flow, but you're like, I need to have a whatever that role, right? I need to have a head of lead gen, or I need to have a in-house staff accountant, or whatever it is. And one of the things that Global Talent allows you to do oftentimes is get those people earlier than you might be able to if you had to hire them in Florida.
100%. Yeah. We have 100% in-house accounting, 3 full-time people, on accounting.
It's awesome.
And, they do a killer job.
But think about how much of your time.
Think about it. The cash conversion is like horrible.
Yeah. Do you have somebody chasing accounts receivable? That was always one that I always had.
We don't have.
It's a killer. It is a killer. So, just somebody who, it's not like collections, but so much what we saw in our business was like the invoice gets sent and there needs to be a small change, or they didn't see it because it went to spam. And so I need to text them to be like, hey man, you owe me 15 grand or whatever it was. And just having somebody who's like an accounts receivable manager who just like wakes up and is just like, hey, Jacob, just want to make sure you got the invoice. Does it look cool to you? It's not like harassing. It's more just like making sure that it's top of mind. Magically, all my AR started to shrink because, it'd take my accountant a week to revise the invoice and then send it back. And then they take 3 days. And so that's a very, it's $1,200 a month.
Exactly. Right. Yeah.
So that's just another idea for you is accounts receivable. You can hire them out of talent pool. You don't need to use your credit. Like 100%.
We actually, so since we're a spec builder, we don't even have accounts receivable.
Oh, you don't? Oh, I didn't realize that.
Because when we sell the property, there it is. There's
just a big lump of cash.
Which,
you have a surprising amount of hair, given your business model, Jacob.
It is, dude. It's brutal. Like it really is. Like, and new construction is like going the more conservative route than remodel.
Is it?
Buying flips. Oh my gosh, I did extremely well with that. But it is intense.
Stressful. Yeah.
The good thing with new construction is like your only variable, is getting the pad ready.
Yeah.
Once the pad's ready, it's the same thing every time.
Yeah. That's nice. Yeah. Then you can be, I actually, I know you've shown some interest in some automation stuff and AI stuff. I'll give you I've actually used track home builders as a analogy with us, which is right now, I think that there are a lot of custom high-end home builders in the AI and automation space, which is, hey, send me a bunch of cash and we're going to go on this journey. And I don't really know what the business is going to, how much it's going to save and how long. Just send me money and we're going to start building. In effect, I'll give you a rough budget, but who knows? We might go 50% over, right? And what I think is there's a big need for in the AI and automation space are track home builders, which in effect is like, Jacob, I'm going to build you at a reasonable price. It's going to have, look, you've only got two types of kitchens, option A or option. It's not a custom kitchen, but it's a great kitchen, but it's either black or white. I'm not getting you. Okay. You can either have this layout or this. And so I actually think in the AI and automation space, there's a ton of guys who'll take your money and build you custom automations, but you're going to bleed cash out of your ear, right? Or you're going to versus, hey, Jacob, here are 10, goals I can build for you in your company, like, lead follow up and nurture or whatever it is. And I can do that with AI and automation. And it's going to be a much more scoped offering. I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of need for that. So that's how I'm thinking about AI and automation. Sagan will probably over time get into that space more and more just because we see a lot of people asking for it. It's like price leadership.
For sure. The thing that I haven't been able to necessarily put AI into much, but I've kind of just learned that automation is just another way to describe having like processes in place.
Have you seen my pyramid? We should talk about that's a good topic for us to talk about. Maybe
Okay.
I'm going to pull it up. I talk about this all the time, and I think it is going to maybe help you think. It could give you a way to think about this. Okay. It's exactly what you just mentioned. So, okay, I'm going to go here. All right.
Yeah.
So I'm going to share my
automating, like if you're signing up to automate stuff, like there's going to be a lot of work.
Oh yeah.
To get it there.
Oh yeah. So I'm going to share my screen here. Okay. So can you see this? This is good pod, but I'm going to talk through it. Okay. So this was a talk I gave a couple of years ago at this point, but I talk about it all the time. Okay. So in most companies, when you started, Jacob, this is how work got done, right? This triangle represents work getting done. You, the owner, did everything. Okay. You're like, all right, we're having some success. Now I'm going to hire some expensive people and I'm going to hand some of the stuff I was doing to expensive people. Okay. Then you go on Twitter and you're like, hey, there's some people in some other countries or there's less expensive people, right? I'm going to add some of those people and take some things off the expensive people's plate and take some more things off my plate. And eventually, if this all works well, the least expensive people in the world are AI and automation, right? So the question that I always ask people is like, all right, if you look at these two businesses, which one is worth more? Oh, the one on the right, you're right. Which one is more scalable? The one on the right. So, providing an offer to a home that you want to flip. Well, Jacob used to be the only person who could do that. Then he hired somebody who he pays 120 G's a year to do that. Then he hired somebody in Mexico who he pays 40 G's a year. And then he built a tool using AI that automatically gives offers based on zip codes and pictures, right? Which one do you get a higher multiple for if you sell it? Which one provides better service, right? So the goal is you as an owner are trying to drive things downward as much as possible with systems.
Exactly.
So this is like tattoo this on your forehead, Jacob, which is what you're doing right now is you're driving things downward. Now, it used to say local staff, global staff, but sometimes it's just expensive, less expensive. It's because global can sometimes be more, right? It's really just you're trying to take things off Jacob's plate and get them to highly skilled people, then get them to less skilled people, and then eventually get it to technology which scales to infinity. And so when you look at how your business is going to be designed, I would encourage you to, I did this for a law firm. I would look at what all the things you need to output. Okay.
I did this exact same thing. Yes. That's
perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Mm-hmm. And you look at Jacob, you look at where you are today. You're like, right now, this is done by somebody who makes $180,000 a year or my fiance. But I know that if I just spend some time, I can get this done by an architect sitting in Mexico. Okay. This one is currently done by Jacob. All right. I know that I could build an AI tool or hire somebody to build an AI tool that could create workup. to do takeoffs or whatever it is. So when you talk about using systems to push work down, that visual analogy is what I always try to talk about.
Yeah.
You like that?
Yeah. I mean, for sure. Like that's all that I think about.
You're doing
Like,
it. You should like it. You're doing it, right?
Yeah, right. You know, and I'm like the process Nazi. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like I always ask people, I'm like, if you have a problem, come to me. And I swear they hesitate because every time I'm putting a process in place.
But that's the right answer, right?
It's like, dude, I'm trying to help, you know, like.
That's what Peter Lohman talks about a lot, which is somebody comes to you with a question and you're like, awesome. One of two things. You've already created a process for it. And then you say, yo, go look at the process. Or you haven't created a process and you're like, yo, I'm going to give you guidance, but I want you to create a process. And over time, what happens is less and less things need to come to you.
Yeah. And that in the step where I miss there is I just write the process.
You have them write it.
That's a huge miss.
Have them write it.
Yeah, right. I
Have them
mean,
write it.
I mean, the exponential effect there.
Yeah, because then now they start to create so your assistant, right? You say, look, here's what I want you to do. I want you to talk to ChatGPT and just tell it about how you do stuff, what the purpose of this is. Take the transcript of the call you did with me when you asked a bunch of questions, put it all into AI and say, based on this transcript, I want you to create a simple, easy to follow process for how to X.
How much easier?
And now they can start doing that. Once you've written that, send it to me and I'll take a look to make sure it all looks good. And then I want you to put it in our process library, wherever you guys keep that.
Custom GPT for the formatting, done.
Yeah. Right? That's totally the way to think. AI is really helpful.
We end up with a full playbook, you know?
Exactly. Especially on the low level stuff, on the stuff like how to add a new, right? Which just drives you crazy, you know?
Totally.
How's Sagan been for you so far?
Really good, man.
Good.
You know, we've hired basically a controller.
Nice.
You know,
that's awesome. From where?
Pakistan.
Cool. Yeah. Pakistan's very hit or miss. You either get really good or really bad. And so it sounds like you did the good one.
This guy is like, I mean, really awesome.
And affordable, right?
Yeah. Incredibly.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm, like the thing is, we'll bring somebody on for $1,200.
Yeah.
And by the end of the first year, we're at that 2K.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Oh, we promote our people like crazy.
Yeah. So I mean, and this guy, like, he just moved into a house that we calculated is like 3,500 square feet. I'm like, this guy ball.
Oh yeah.
You know. And he's like talking to me about like buying American stocks and stuff. It's like, yeah, this is life-changing stuff for them, you know.
That's wonderful. And who have you been working with on our team? I think you work with Fabi. So Fabi is from El Salvador. That's probably your main point of contact, right?
Yes. And if I saw the names.
Yeah. Well, our depending on what type of hire it is, it goes to a different recruiter. So Fabi's really, you're kind of like, she's the one who's.
There was one girl in the Philippines who was a recruiter that was really good.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we've got, we're working hard, right? We're always trying to improve stuff, and, we're not perfect because we're dealing with human beings as much as, it's kind of like, it's like, look, man, it doesn't always work, but generally speaking, we do pretty good, right? We're far from perfect though, but cool, man. So any questions you have for me or any advice for somebody starting this journey or anything else you wanted to kind of talk about a little bit? So you said Sagan's been going good. You've used the talent pool at all?
Yeah.
Definitely keep an eye on that. Right.
I pulled a couple of good people.
We're about to do a huge improvement to it. So we're confirming availability. We're making it much more searchable. So we've invested a lot of time.
That was the thing that was a little bit frustrating about it, for sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, hey, like when there's obstacles like that, there's gold in there because people don't want to spend time to get.
Yeah. You don't want to make it too easy to surface.
Yeah. Right. So I was like spending the time for a little while there. I'm like, man, a lot of people are not going to go through all this to find people.
Yeah. So, Rich Jordan was like, yo, it's like Tinder for business owners because he's like, I like this guy. He's like laying in bed, like watching videos of accountants, Yeah. But we're about to make it a lot easier and, more useful. So we just want to keep improving. So,
cool, man. Yeah, it's awesome. I'm like every, I guess, I don't know what type of business you would call that, I guess. But everyone that I've seen that does the ancillary things like you guys are doing, I mean, it's just becomes bulletproof at that point because, our people are reliant on coaching and
Yeah.
advice from y'all.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah. For us, Jacob, it's everything I built and we're building at Sagan was because I wanted it. So it started with, onlinejobs.ph is good for Filipino talent, but I can't get people outside the Philippines. So I was like, okay, I'll solve that. And then it was like, well, I have all these extra candidates and sometimes I just want to see, I was like, okay, so I put them in the talent pool. Talent pool started as like a Google sheet, right?
Mhm.
And then it was like, well, I have these great people, but I want them to keep developing skills about AI and accent reduction and customer service. It's like, okay, I need to build a professional development. And so everything we're doing is just like stuff where I'm like, this is what I need. This is what we need. This is our team goes to Sagan University training. So it's the exact same stuff. So it's like, it's solve your own problems. And so all of the stuff you're seeing, and hopefully we're going to continue to keep building, is us solving our own problems.
Yeah.
So happy that you've had a good experience stuff, and if you can't tell, I love talking about this stuff. So if you have any specific, questions or challenges or whatever, just drop me an email, man. I'm pretty easy to find.
Yeah. Appreciate that. And I'll probably take you up on
Yeah,
it.
please do, dude. Please do. I like I said, I love the sound of my own voice and I love talking about this stuff. So anytime you want to talk about this stuff or whatever, we've also got, if you're not in the new community yet, we've got a ton of smart people floating around there too, who might have also solved your problems.